Alright folks, welcome back to the channel. It's about time I covered my top 5 indie games. The scope and variety of indie games is absolutely massive. This was really hard to narrow down. I've added some honourable mentions as well, but let's just set some ground rules here. First and foremost, I'm not going to cover any FPS indie games. I'm going to do that in a future video. And secondly, this only covers the indie games I've actually played. And remember, it's just my opinion. I want to know down in the comments what games I may have missed. But let's do this. Here we go with number 5. So number 5 for me is Broforce, and you might actually notice a theme throughout my selections in this video. There's a lot of 80s themed games, and Broforce focuses on paying homage to 80s movies, action stars, and I absolutely am a massive fan of 80s movies, action stars. That's a tongue twister. But in all seriousness, it is an extremely fun run and gun action platformer. Tons of gore, tons of destruction, and there's quite a bit of humor in it, especially when you discover a new bro, as they call it. So essentially when you rescue people in the game, you unlock new bros, and it's absolutely hilarious. In this case here, I found Dirty Brory, aka Dirty Harry. Simply put, it's just really well put together. Okay, number 4 is Volgarr the Viking. For anyone that's been following the channel for the last couple of months, they know that I've covered these games extensively, including the sequel most recently. I'm not going to go into massive detail in this, but it is my number 4. It is getting in there because I suppose it challenged me to the best of my ability as I streamed the very first game. And boy, what a challenge it is. A really well put together homage to Rastan and hardcore platformers of old. Definitely going in here as my number 4. So number 3 for me is Hotline Miami, and really Hotline Miami, I contribute this to actually introducing indie games in general to me as a player back in 2012. I didn't really genuinely play these types of games, and I don't think there was that many at the time. I really feel Hotline Miami actually popularized this genre, and it also popularized the genre of kind of one-hit insta-kill retry kind of indie style games that are essentially really addictive. What was brilliant about Hotline Miami as well is it absolutely has an absolute belter of a soundtrack as well. So Hotline Miami is my number 3 and still instantly replayable even to this day. So my number 2 is going to be Huntdown, and I swear to God, not enough people have played this game. Again, another 80s themed homage to 80s action movie stars. I had to say that again, by the way. Anyway, when talking about Huntdown, again, it's another homage to those stars, even down to the one-liners that the protagonists shout when they kill some bad guys. Really visually stunning graphics and absolute brilliant soundtrack. I would class this as one of the best indie soundtracks ever made, in my opinion. It's kind of got this synthwave blend plus that age-old action kind of guitar riffs that you get from movies of old. And that's just blended into a really perfectly made platformer with some extreme challenge, bear in mind, especially some of the boss fights. And that's only on normal difficulty. Bear in mind, there are 2 other difficulties beyond normal, which are another level of challenge all on themselves. I will die on a hill and say this is one of the best indie games ever made. And again, not enough people have played this. Please go out and give this a shot. It is so cheap to pick up as well digitally. Simply put, just go get it. Okay, some honorable mentions, and here we go. Little Nightmares series, I'm adding this one in here. Horror themed side scroller and almost a puzzler in a way. It is genuinely actually scary. There are some really intense moments. I actually streamed these. I've never actually played these games in private, and even streaming them while I was chatting to folks on stream, I was still ramped up with tension. It's a beautiful looking game as well. And this one, actually, I'm going to give a nod out to Game Culture because he introduced me to the series in general. So I've beaten both games. What a really well put together little horror title. Next up is another game called Infernax, a little 8-bit homage to, I would nearly call it a blend of a Metroidvania and maybe a little bit of Zelda influence thrown in here as well in regards to the castles and stuff that you find in the game. A really little hidden gem of an indie title that I've only actually recently beaten over the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And I really enjoyed my time with it. It took me about 8 hours to beat. Definitely well worth a shot. It's also challenging as well, bear in mind, and a lot of these indie titles are a challenge. Now, my final honourable mention is going to go out to Dead Cells. I'm not actually a massive roguelite fan, to be honest with you. I'm not the biggest fan of procedurally generated levels and having these kind of single runs to beat games, but Dead Cells is the best, I think, in my opinion, and its combat system is just so bloody addictive. I actually only recently beat this as well. Again, when I say beat this, I've done a single run. I got to the end of the game and beat the boss. But these are kind of designed to be endlessly replayable in essence, and the variations and styles of the runs and equipment you can get on a single run, and essentially no 2 runs will be identical in theory. Again, procedurally generated. It just depends on the order of the areas and zones you take on, and again, some of the sections will be quite different from each other the next time you do a run. It's a rinse and repeat, trial and error, learn scenario, but this I feel is one of the best. So the best indie game ever made, in my opinion, is Cuphead, and people might actually be surprised by that, because by the end of the time I finished Cuphead and the DLC in this channel, I was almost relieved to do so. But looking back on it now, it was one of the most enjoyable and rewarding experiences, not only in gaming, but for me on this channel in general. It actually holds so much history in this channel, and I had some of the best streaming experiences because of this game. What a challenging game, bear in mind. It and its DLC will almost break a man at times. Trust me, I raged hard playing through this. I think it was maybe 10 plus streams to get to the bloody end of both games. But still, ultimately, what a super rewarding experience, and one of the most beautiful looking indie games. Let's get this clear, aesthetically, music and otherwise. And it's gotten so popular now that they've made a Netflix show out of the game itself. Hopefully, we see an actual official Cuphead 2 coming to us in the near future. Anyway, folks, that's it for today's video. That is my top 5 indie games plus honorable mentions, and there is a ton I've missed. Absolutely a ton I have missed. I want to know what your favorites are down in the chat. Do you agree with my list? Are they anywhere near your top 5? I want to know all the pros and cons down below. And if you're new to the channel, guys, please consider supporting my work by liking and subscribing. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Thanks for watching.